Regular meeting of the City Council is being held tonight, Thursday, September 25th, 2025, at 7 p.m. for the purpose of transacting any and all business. Notice of this meeting was posted on September 23rd, 2025, at 1:35 p.m. This meeting is being recorded and is live on SATV and Zoom unless technological issues interrupt the transmission. Council is absent, none. Councilor Cohen moved to dispense with the reading of the record of the previous meeting. All those in favor? Passes. President Prosnowski requests that everyone please rise to recite the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Councilor Stott. Councilor Davis.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Salem City Council honors that this land is Nomkeg, or fishing place, where generations of Nomkeg people from the Pawtucket Band of the Massachusetts tribe lived and passed through for centuries. We acknowledge that this is unceded indigenous land, and also acknowledge the Massachusetts tribe who continue to honor and hold this land into the present. Salem City Council is committed to having ongoing, meaningful dialogue with the indigenous peoples who have presence here in Salem in order to dismantle the legacies of oppression and inequities that persist today. Public testimony. Public testimony is not to exceed 15 minutes. Public testimony is not a public hearing or a question and answer period. Sign-up must occur 30 minutes prior to the meeting. The president shall, depending on the number of speakers, set a time limit not to exceed 3 minutes. With each individual presenting testimony, must abide. Tonight, I believe we have 8 speakers, so that would be 2 minutes each, which will take us into 16 minutes, but I think we can live with another minute. So, that being said, I will go down the list. Elo Prokaba. Oh. Sorry, Ella, E-L-L-A, Probhakar. She's on Zoom, okay. Let's go on Zoom. Ella, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you all for your time today. My name is Ella Prabhakar. I'm a student at UMass Amherst, calling in from Amherst, Massachusetts. I'm also a student at Advocate with Phenom, and I'm speaking in favor of the Higher Education Funding Resolution. In my advocacy work and in my service and student government, I have seen that state disinvestment in public higher education, which has been happening since about 2001, is not just numbers. It means that students are emptying out their savings accounts at the beginning of the semester, hoping anxiously that they can scrape enough together to get by. It means students splitting their attention between jobs and classes. I'm studying civil engineering. I can tell you that if I had to be working 15 hours a week, my life would be extremely stressful. It's already pretty busy as it is. I'm working part-time and doing research, and I get to do cool stuff like research drinking water quality. It also means that the lasting implications of debt, delaying life milestones, limiting choices. A lot of my new grad friends are faced with a very difficult job market, along with the federal government cutting a lot of loan repayment plans. People in their 30s right now, a lot of them don't think they're ever going to be able to pay off their student loans. Divestment also means understaffing of student services, which makes it difficult to access academic and social services offered by the universities, like tutoring, career mentorship, student organization support, mental health services. When the staff that support us are overworked and underpaid, we feel the implications of that. Many of these issues are going on at the UMass Amherst campus, as I'm sure they are happening at Salem State. There are also free speech implications of this. When state funding is lacking, universities are turning to private sources, which can more easily punish people for exercising academic freedoms. We've seen this private influence on our campus with lecturers and staff members' jobs being threatened. This also leads me to the federal disinvestment that's going on. So many grants are being canceled, financial aid reduced, which means that the state needs to step in to help continue essential community-engaged research, as well as continuing student support and financial aid. Let me know if I'm going over time. Once the state makes it possible for students to attend higher education, which is very important for our economy and democracy, they have a continued responsibility to support students throughout their degree. We are already seeing the state trying to cut stipends to community college students. So I think with this funding, yes, research is important, but also investment needs to reach students and have a real impact on the college ecosystem.
Thank you, Ella. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Henry Morgan?
Hi everyone, I'm Henry Morgan. I'm the Executive Director of Phenom, and I am speaking today to urge the Salem City Council to pass the higher education funding resolution that was put before them today. Right now, as Ella mentioned, higher education is under attack. It's under attack by a federal government that has decided to put aside the public good to enrich a small few, a billionaire class that is divorced from the experience of everyday Americans to the extent that they care more about their second private jet than the future or opportunity of the next generation. And that's really why I'm here. I'm here to testify on behalf of the future for the next generation. That is what public higher education provides. It provides a future and opportunity for the next generation. A future and opportunity for those who didn't come from a particularly wealthy family that can afford to pay a private school tuition. A future and opportunity for those who didn't come from a particularly good school district who could afford to get a scholarship that would allow them to go to these schools. And a future for most of us. You know, this is most of us. The reality of this situation is that most college students in America are public college students, and that public colleges and public universities provide an education to most American college students. Public education might not provide much for the billionaire class's heirs and heiresses, but it provides a hell of a lot for the rest of us. And that's why I'm here. I'm here for the rest of us. I'm hoping that the city councilors here will consider passing this resolution and joining us in asking the legislature to set aside a future for the rest of us. This resolution, which would help us demand the legislature honor the will of the public to invest the Fair Share Amendment revenue into education, which was what the will of the public asked for and what we were promised by the agreement between the legislature and our people. We passed this ballot initiative asking for this to go forward to higher education, to education, and to actually be invested, and the legislature decided not to invest this money. And so we're asking for your support in ensuring that this hard fought for and hard won revenue be reinvested in the future of the next generation. I hope you will consider that.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Your time is up. Thank you for that. Nicholas Jones?
Been told to eat the mic, so. Hello, Salem City Council. My name is Nicholas Jones, a first-year student at Salem State and the first of my family to attend college. I am here to advocate for the higher education funding resolution which will be presented later today. This resolution is personally important to me, as it proposes allocating a small portion of the funds generated by the Fair Share Amendment to support students like me. Ever since I can remember, my mother, who fled from civil war in Serbia in search of a better life for her children, has worked tirelessly for grueling hours, saving every penny for my brother and I to go attend college. Yet that was not enough. It was only with the help of Pell Grants and other federal funding that I could rise above my family's station and attend college here in Salem. Yet, despite being crucial for students from modest backgrounds, Pell Grants and other federal funding are under attack by the current administration. It is those students who, who are being targeted and denied the social mobility they deserve, who are the future of Massachusetts, the state my mother brought me to for its focus on education and the development of its people. Therefore, we must take education matters into our own hands. I urge you all to support this resolution so that we may continue to be a leader in education and opportunity for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Brett Safarian?
Hi, my name is Brett Zafarian. I'm a resident of Bridge Street Neck. I'm here also to speak in favor of the resolution urging the legislature to spend $200 million to backfill federal funding cuts in Massachusetts colleges and universities. Massachusetts is the most educated state in the nation. It's also the wealthiest, and those two are related. But education is about a lot more than just wealth. An educated populace is a strong populace and is vital for democracy. What this resolution does is take new money. This is not money that's going to be taken away from any existing project or program that helps needy people in the Commonwealth. It is new money that we are very fortunate to have coming online in this state right as the federal government is failing us. All too often when there are crises, leaders are reluctant to spend rainy day funds to address a problem, but these aren't even rainy day funds. It's a new pot of money available to protect the education of Massachusetts' next generation. It would be foolish not to take advantage of it. So I urge you strongly to vote in favor of the resolution, and I thank you and the hope that you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brett. Joanna Gonzalez.
Hi, I'm Joanna Gonzalez. I'm a psychology professor at Salem State, and I'm the president of the Faculty and Librarian Union, and I'm here to speak in favor of the resolution. Yeah, that too. It's really important in this moment that we keep our public colleges going. For over 100 years, the city of Salem and Salem State University, actually once Salem Normal School, has had very deep, long partnerships, including environmental groups like Coastal Watch or community groups, and especially with Salem Public Schools. And I'll just give you just one quick sentence about that. So I directed the Salem Youth Mentoring Program. Actually got a grant from, I think, this body to do it at one point. And we were providing emotional support to 9th and 10th graders. Our college mentors were being trained to be mentors. They were getting college credit, and our 9th and 10th graders were getting some advice and help in being successful as high school students. And actually, many of those students have become our students now at the college. I think, I'm hoping that you'll pass this resolution tonight, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thomas Pineros Shields.
Thank you. My name is Thomas Pineros Shields. I am a resident of Salem. For the past year, I've been a faculty member at the department in the Salem State University Department of Politics, Policy, and International Relations, and I'm the director of the North Shore Policy Lab. Tonight, I'm not speaking on behalf of Salem State. I'm speaking as an individual whose career has been based on doing community-based research that is not only sitting in a laboratory somewhere with white coats, but research that is designed to improve the communities around us. The North Shore Policy Lab work, we're working with the Uplift Salem project, we work with the Latino Leadership Coalition, we're looking at affordable housing issues, and we're taking on climate change sustainability issues, all of which have been facing federal cuts, and the research now is threatened at colleges and universities across the country. Given that, the governor has initiated this proposal, the DRIVE initiative, to put $400 million into the public university system. We need this funding to maintain the kind of research that provides benefits to our own communities right here in Salem. We are in a place where we need funding for software, we need funding for graduate assistants, for undergraduate research workers, and that this research and that this funding also supports student learning as they're engaged in this project. They develop the kind of skills that they can bring out to be civic actors in the future. So we urge you to support the amendment, the resolution that is before you tonight in support of higher education funding, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Tom. Ann Friedgen? I hope I pronounced that correctly.
You did, like a free drink. I ask the City Council to please switch gears away from the important subject of higher education. I'm Ann Friedgen, and I've been a Salem resident for 33 years. I'm currently reside at Bertram Terrace, a Salem Housing Authority property for senior citizens. I serve on a tenant association board representing over 125 tenants. I believe on your agenda tonight is the reappointment of Ms. Veronica Miranda to the SHA board for 5 years. I'm asking the council to not automatically reappoint Ms. Miranda as tenant representative for the following reasons. 67% of units under SHA auspices are seniors, yet we have no voice on the board. I assert the Honorable Mayor has not done due diligence regarding this reappointment. Back in April, a tenant association I serve on, again representing over 125 senior tenants, sent a letter to the mayor requesting senior representation on the board, to no avail. Furthermore, the mayor had requested applications for this position about 6 months ago. Several people applied, but received no response of any kind. I also wish to point out that Ms. Miranda has already served on the SHA board for at least 3 years. Additionally, Ms. Miranda is a commissioner on the school committee. Therefore, I recommend that it is time to give a different person a voice, as well as a chance to serve their city and their tenant peers on the Salem Housing Authority Board. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, we have Catherine Fahey. Fahey, sorry. Correct. Typing's real small on this, so it isn't A. Fahey. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Hi, my name is Catherine Fahey. I'm a resident of South Salem. I live on Ocean Ave. I am a librarian at Salem State University. I am also an alum of Salem State University. I got my MA in English in 2018. And I'm yet another person urging this council to work with state representatives to ensure funding for public higher education. And I'd like to speak about social mobility. We are used to thinking of colleges and university ranks, as in which ones are producing the most PhDs, which ones are producing the most football players, which ones have the best party reputation. Salem State is a national leader in social mobility, which is to the extent that a college or university educates more economically disadvantaged people whose families are at below the national median income, at lower tuition, which is a lower student debt burden, so that the students graduate into good paying jobs. In 2024, CollegeNet published their Social Mobility Index. Salem State is number 84 out of over 1,200 universities in the United States. Other public schools in that list in Massachusetts in the top 100 are Bridgewater State, which is number 65, and UMass Boston, which is number 95. Public higher education in Massachusetts provides social capital. Additionally, U.S. News & World Report runs similar rankings. Salem State is number 23 out of Northeast universities, which is New England, Pennsylvania, New York. The other state Massachusetts schools in the top 100 are Fitchburg, Framingham State, Mass Maritime, and Bridgewater State. The UMasses don't crack the top 100. Public education, especially state universities and community colleges, is a pathway for people to improve their lives. People who attend public universities stay in the community. If I was to ask folks here to raise their hand, which I can't do, we all have a connection to the public universities in the neighborhood, and I ask you to please continue to prioritize public education, work with our state representatives, and make sure that we have quality public education from kindergarten through university. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes public comment. Madam Clerk, hearings none. Appointments and reappointments.
We have held from the last meeting a list of the mayor's appointments of the following with terms to expire.
Council Varela.
Thank you, President Prosnowski. I move for confirmation by roll call vote.
Council Varela moves for confirmation by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, President Prosnowski. I will be brief. I just want to personally thank every one of these appointments. It really means a lot that you guys are willing to put yourselves out there to serve on a board here in our city. It does a lot, and this is what's great about Salem is just the participation we have here. So for that, thank you everyone for the appointments, and that'll be all. Thank you.
Would you like a suspension of the rules? Okay. On Council Varela's motion to move for confirmation by roll call vote. I'm sorry. Any further discussion? On Council Varela's motion to move this forward by confirmation by roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Watson-Felt?
Yes.
Councilor Varela?
Yes.
Councilor Stott?
Yes.
Councilor Marcillo?
Yes.
Councilor Merkel?
Yes.
Councilor Jerslow?
Yes.
Councilor Harvey?
Yes.
Councilor Hepworth?
Yes.
Councilor Davis?
Yes.
Councilor Cohen?
Yes.
And Councilor Prosnowski.
Yes. Council Varela. On the vote. Held from the last meeting, the appointments, which I'm sure Council Varela will state by name. All those, we have 11 yeas, no nays. The matter passes. Council Varela.
Thank you, President Prosnowski. I move for suspension of the rule to allow applicants to speak. I'm just going to list them off. We're going to start with people in the room and then go to Zoom land. So we have Dr. Larry Brosnahan, Alexis Lambert, Nate Berkowitz, Ali Carafel, Madison Tetens, Colby Bomberwitz, Dr. Vanita Nandu, Dr. Melanie Songstang Pearson, Dayton Marchese, Ryan Mashoni, Megan Gonzalez, and Kevin Rice. So if you guys are in the room, please come on up, and love to hear from you.
I'm Larry Broisman, retired doctor. I want to thank the mayor and the council for approving me for the Commission on Disabilities. I look forward to contributing my expertise to it and look forward to contributing to Salem. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Colby Bomberowitz. I'm very excited and grateful to be joining the Salem Race Equity Commission. I hope to listen deeply and to learn greatly and try to empower people with dignity and compassion so everyone, all of our neighbors, have a voice and have some sort of representation where they feel like somebody cares. So thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Dayton Marchese. I'm a civil engineer and a resident of Salem, and I'm excited to contribute to the Conservation Commission, supporting development and protecting our natural resources. So thank you very much to the council and the mayor for the appointment.
Hi, I'm Megan Gonzalez. I'm an educator and a resident of Salem. I just want to thank the council for my nomination and letting me be on the Scholarship and Education Committee. I look forward to serving.
Hello, my name is Ryan Mashoni. I'm very excited to be joining the Salem Redevelopment Authority. I've lived in Salem now for over 25 years. My children attend Salem Public Schools. I attended Salem University, and I run my business here. So Salem's a very special place for me, and I'm looking forward to being able to give back to Salem and serve the community on the Salem Redevelopment Authority. I would like to thank the City Council for this appointment, as well as Mayor Pingallo. And I'd also like to thank Dean Rubin, who was the former SRA member, who I'm taking his role. I know Dean was a long-standing member, and I know his time on the board was very well respected. So thank you all.
Hello, I'm Alexis Lambert, and I am very thankful for the appointment to the Commission on Disabilities. I look forward to making Salem a city that I really love, a more accessible place for everyone. Thank you.
everyone. I'm Madison Teetons. I'd like to first off thank the mayor and the council for this opportunity to serve the community I have the privilege to call home. I've seen the great work being done to address food insecurity here in Salem and worked alongside passionate people, and I'm excited to be able to contribute to the cause. Recognizing an issue is just a first step in solving it, and the passionate people I've worked with so far are going a step beyond and using their expertise to help guide our elected officials on policy that will make meaningful change in addressing hunger. I'm eager to do the same and look forward to this opportunity. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name's Kevin Rice. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to serve on the Sustainability, Energy, and Resilience Committee. I've worked for the National Park Service for about 7 years and just transitioned to a local nonprofit that works with communicating common sense and science-backed projects throughout the Blackstone watershed, so a little bit further away from here. But I really appreciate the opportunity, and I look forward to working with you all.
I believe we have Dr. Vanita Naidoo on Zoom. Go ahead, doctor. And we don't. Little patience. Let's see if we can get Dr. Melody Songst in person.
Hi, I am Melanie Sunsting-Person, and I am a assistant professor of social work at Salem State University, and I am very honored and excited to serve on the Race Equity Commission and thank the City Council for the appointment. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Naidoo, are you with us?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi there, perfect. My name is Dr. Vanita Naidoo. I'm on faculty at Salem State, and I'm a resident of Salem. I'm excited to serve on the Race Equity Commission, and I appreciate the opportunity from the mayor and the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Further appointments and reappointments? I'm sorry. We have Ally. I'm sorry. We have Ally Garufal in Zoom. Ally, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
Yes, hello. Good evening. My name is Ally Carafal, and I'd like to thank the council and the mayor for my appointment to the Salem Food Policy Council. I'm a Salem resident, and I currently serve as the Associate Executive Director at the Salem YMCA. I am passionate about food access and excited to contribute to advancing the good work that the Food Policy Council does. And I look forward to collaborating with the council and community partners. Thank you for the opportunity to serve.
Thank you. Are we looking at Nate Berkowitz? Nate, can you hear us? Mr. Berkowitz, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Hi, thanks.
You, go ahead.
Awesome. Great. Thanks. I just want to say thank you to the mayor and the council for this appointment to the Food Policy Council. I became the new executive director of Root back in June, and Root and the city have a long history of supporting food access together, and I look forward to continuing to support that mission. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I believe that it includes the appointments, further appointments and reappointments.
We have held from the last meeting.
the mayor's reappointments of the following with terms to expire.
Council Varela.
Thank you, President Prosniewski. I move for confirmation by roll call vote.
Council Varela moves for confirmation by roll call vote. On the discussion.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I just wanted to, again, thank all the reappointments for their continued service.
Any further discussion? Councilor Girzolo.
Thank you, President Prosniewski. I would make a motion that we hold Veronica Miranda for the Salem Housing Authority Board until we can speak to the mayor about why the people that applied for it weren't responded to, and ask him a few questions about why some seniors are not represented on that board.
Any further discussion? Council Watson-Feld.
Thank you, Councilor Prosniewski. I would like to make a comment acknowledging that we heard from a resident in public comment today that there is not enough representation of seniors who compile the majority of tenancy of our Salem Housing Authority. I think that that's a very serious problem. However, I also think that Veronica Miranda is also a representative of tenants and a longstanding volunteer, and I would not be comfortable holding her nomination. That being said, I think it's incredibly important that the mayor take up this question of tenant representation, and my position would be that he seek to open the charter of the board and add additional tenant representation. In truth, I think one tenant representative is certainly not enough, given the myriad diversity of the residents living in our housing authority buildings. So that would be my position. Thank you.
Councilor Davis.
Thank you, President Prosniewski. Veronica Miranda is an outstanding public servant and a really, really crucial voice on the Salem Housing Authority Board. That being said, I do think it is not an unreasonable request that folks that apply to be a part of these commissions and boards get a response thanking them for their interest. They're applying to give their time for free to the city, to the community. I've talked to many residents that were very disheartened and felt that there was a feeling of kind of retreating from wanting to give back to the community because it didn't feel good to find out that they didn't make it onto the committee or board through when those positions were posted. So I do hope that process, I hope that concern is looked at. Thank you.
Any further discussion? On Councilor Girzolo's, I'm sorry, Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, President. There also needs to be a second. However, I want to speak to this. Anne is one of my constituents. I appreciate her comments. I have missed one tenant meeting, monthly meeting, in 4 years of Pioneer Terrace, Bertram Terrace meetings. Veronica is actually the only person on the board that has been there several times. There's one person who happens to be the union rep who came to one meeting. And there is going to be an opening. Someone who's on the housing board is relocating out of Salem, so there will be an opening next month, and hopefully some of the concerns can be addressed. But when I've gone to Salem Housing Board meetings and watched the leadership that Veronica has exhibited, and I can't actually think of anyone who has fought harder for tenants than Veronica has. And so I think it would be a big loss to the tenants. I look at the Salem Housing Authority as having one purpose, and that is to provide safe housing for people who have vouchers and other things that get them into that. We have over 700 units in that system. And I can't think of anyone in Salem, other than Lori Stewart maybe, who also came through a similar system, who would better represent the tenants. That's just my experience. I'm just speaking as one person, not just as a counselor. So I'm going to vote for her to be confirmed for another term. and hopefully she's voted again to be the chair, because I think she's been really tremendous as the chair. And then hopefully the mayor will look to someone who fits some of the guidelines that Ann talked about for the next position.
Councilor Harvey.
Thank you, President. I have to say I do agree with Councilor Watson-Felt in regards to the fact that we do need somebody on the board representing the elderly, but I do also agree with Councilor Cohen. So again, I do agree. I hope that the next opening comes up, that the mayor takes a better look at filling all the gaps on the board. Thank you.
Any further discussion on Councilor Jerslow's motion? I'm looking for a second. No second, so there is no motion. On Councilor Varela's motion to confirm by roll call vote, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Watson-Felt?
Yes.
Council Varela?
Yes.
Council Stott?
Yes.
Council Marcillo?
Yes.
Council Merkel?
Yes.
Council Jerslow?
Nay.
Council Harvey?
Yes.
Council Hapworth?
Yes.
Council Davis?
Yes.
Council Cohen?
Yes.
And Council Prosnewski?
Yes. On the reappointments of those following individuals, we have 10 in the affirmative, one in the negative. The matter carries. Further appointments and reappointments.
We have the mayor's appointment of Alex Sanchez to the Parks and Recreation Commission with a term to expire May 14th, 2029.
Councilor Marcillo.
Thank you, President. I move that this be held under the rules.
Councilor Marcillo moves that this be held under the rules. All those in favor? Motion is held. Further appointments and reappointments.
We have the following appointments of Alan Hanscom to the Salem Human Rights Coalition and Stephen Feldman to the Cultural Council for informational purposes only.
Councilor Varela.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move this be received and filed.
Councilor Varela moves that this be received and filed. Under discussion?
No discussion.
All in favor? Matter carries. Communications from the mayor.
We have a bond order in the amount of $3,618,491 to pay costs of designing and replacing the roof at the Bates Elementary School located at 53 Liberty Hill Ave, Salem, including all costs incidental or related thereto.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption for first passage by roll call vote.
Councilor Merkel moves for first passage by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you. The city was accepted into the Massachusetts School Building Authority's Accelerated Repair Program, and the MSBA requires that we submit all the paperwork for the funding agreement no later than October 22nd, and the certified vote on the bond order is one of the items that are required for this paperwork. And we won't actually borrow the whole amount, but we have to authorize it because it's pending reimbursement. And the $3.6 million is the total cost for the roof project, and they will be reimbursing us up to about $2.5 million. And also, some of you might remember, in the spring, we repurposed $988,000 in unspent CIP funds from last fiscal year to this fiscal year 26 CIP projects for the Bates roof. So this is all good financial news for us. And as a reminder, the Bates roof is over 25 years old, in poor condition, active leaks, and definitely needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Merkel's motion for adoption by first passage, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Watson-Felt?
Yes.
Council Varela?
Yes.
Council Stott?
Yes.
Council Marcillo?
Yes.
Council Merkel?
Yes.
Council Jerslow?
Yes.
Council Harvey?
Yes.
Council Hapworth?
Yes.
Council Davis?
Yes.
Council Cohen? Yes. And Council Prosnewski?
Yes. on the bond order for $3,618,491 to replace the roof at the Bates Elementary School. We have 11 yeas, no nays, matter carries. Further appointments and reappointments.
We have an order to accept donation from Jan's Bistro, doing business as Fantasy Island, in the amount of $1,200 for a Forest River Park bench donation.
Council Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move for adoption.
Council Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Just to say thank you to Fantasy Island for their donation.
Any further discussion? Council Varela.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I'd like to just personally thank the owners of Fantasy Island. Fantasy Island's been a fixture in Ward 7, one of the few restaurants, and the owners have been really good stewards from when they took it over. So thank you again for your contribution and generosity.
Any further discussion? Seeing none on Council Merkel's motion that we adopt. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further appointments and reappointments.
Communications.
I'm sorry,
from the mayor.
further communications from the mayor.
That's okay. We have an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance by adding the following new sections to Chapter 7, Special Residential Regulations, Smart Growth Overlay Subdistrict Margin, Endicott, and High Street.
Council Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to refer to the Planning Board to hold a joint public meeting.
Council Hapworth moves to hold a joint public hearing with the Planning Board. Any discussion?
Yeah, this is just for the public. This is the Life Bridge project that's been much talked about, and this has been a long time coming to see this on the agenda here. Looking forward to this discussion with the Planning Board, seeing their eventual recommendation, and then bringing it back to the council for our discussion.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Council Hapworth's motion to conduct a joint public hearing with the Planning Board. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Mayor's informational page, none. Motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Cohen.
Salem City Council Higher Education Funding Resolution, whereas community colleges, state universities, and the UMass system play an integral role in fostering the public good in Massachusetts, and whereas public colleges and universities provide the necessary education, career training to allow for social and economic mobility necessary for ensuring greater equality among our residents, and whereas public colleges and universities across the state are major employers, and the students attending public colleges and universities generate significant economic activity, and whereas public education provides a highly trained and highly educated workforce for Massachusetts-based businesses and industries, and whereas Salem State University faculty, staff, and students engage in work to improve North Shore residents' quality of life through community-based research and outreach, including the North Shore Policy Lab, Center for Economic Development, Sustainability, and History Research as part of Salem's 400-plus anniversary, and whereas Salem State University is the Commonwealth Civic Engagement University, an emerging Hispanic-serving institution and minority-serving institution, and whereas public colleges and universities are experiencing severe disruptions in funding as federal grants that pay for research are being paused and canceled, and whereas public funds facilitate research centers at public colleges and universities on the public good, serve artistic and humanitarian ends, and produce regional economic benefits, and whereas the state of Massachusetts has a responsibility to ensure costs to public higher education are not prohibitive or require students to take on debilitating debt, and whereas despite recent state financial aid programs, tuition and fees continue to rise, yet the federal government has passed severe reductions in Pell Grant funding that underprivileged students rely on, and whereas student debt creates a barrier that significantly hinders Salem State alumni from starting families, achieving life goals, and reaching financial stability, and whereas graduates saddled with the student debt can do even less to support their community economically, socially, culturally, with students trapped under high levels of debt, reporting less home ownership, careers in public service and entrepreneurship, and whereas Massachusetts voters approved the fair share surtax on income above $1 million to generate revenue specifically for public education and transportation, whereas Governor Healy proposed reserving $200 million of fair share amendment funds to benefit public colleges and universities, and Therefore, be it resolved that the Salem City Council voices its strong support for Massachusetts community colleges, state universities, UMass campuses, and therefore be it resolved that the Salem City Council urge the state legislature to set aside $200 million from the more than $2 billion generated by the Fair Share Act as the first step towards stabilizing public higher education funding that supports students, faculty, and staff, and therefore be it resolved that the Salem City Council urges the state legislature and governors to strategically increase funding for public colleges and universities to lessen their reliance on grants, privatization, and student tuition and fees, and therefore be it resolved that the Salem City Council supports the public colleges and universities so that students can attend without incurring unnecessary debt, and therefore be it resolved that the Salem City Council encourages the state legislature to provide the salaries and benefits necessary to retain and attract the faculty staff needed to maintain the quality of education our state deserves. Therefore, be it resolved that the City Clerk of City Council sends the resolution to Governor Healy, Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, State President Spilka, House Speaker Mariano, Senator Lovely, Rep. Cruz, the Ways and Means Committee, the Joint Committee on Higher Education, and the Board of Education of Higher Education, and the Senate Committee on Economic Development. And I move that this is adopted as read.
Councilor Cohen moves for adoption by roll call vote.
Sure.
Any further discussion?
Thank you, President. This is actually, the DRIVE Act that was referred to is actually the Discovery, Research, and Innovation in the Vibrant Economy. Governor Healy submitted this in July to the legislature. It's actually been referred to the State Committee on Economic Development and the Ways and Means Committee, which is a good first step. I want to thank Ella, Henry, Nick, Brett, Joanna, Thomas, Kathy, and many others who did most of the work. We had many meetings talking about the value of this. Massachusetts risks losing a generation of scientists, and not just here, but to other states. For example, California is about to pass a similar bill with $1 billion. And Salem State partly became a university based on the research initiatives. So I really appreciate all the work that all the people in the working group did, and I think they actually represented why this is so important, even better than the words on the page. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Cohen's motion that we adopt this order by roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Watson-Felt?
Yes.
Councilor Varela?
Yes.
Councilor Stott?
Yes.
Councilor Marcillo?
Yes.
Councilor Merkel?
Yes.
Councilor Jerslow?
Yes.
Councilor Harvey?
Yes.
Councilor Hapworth?
Yes.
Councilor Davis?
Yes.
Councilor Cohen?
Yes.
Councilor Prosnewski?
Yes. On the resolution that the City Council support higher education funding resolution, we have 11 yeas and no nays. Matter carries. Further orders and resolutions. I'm sorry. Councilor Merkel, sorry.
Thank you. City of Salem, September 25th, 2025, ordered that the monthly financial reports dated January 2025 through April 2025 be received and filed, and I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
These monthly financials are in the backup documentation.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor that this be adopted? All those opposed? Carries. Further orders and resolutions. Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. City of Salem in the year 2025, an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to Chapter 40, Section 30, Public Guides, Prohibition. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1 amends Section 40-30, Prohibitions by adding the following. Number 13, stop or assemble under prohibitions. Stop or assemble a tour group for the purpose of delivering narration, storytelling, or other programmatic content on Howard Street. Tour groups may traverse Howard Street in the course of the tour, but may only stop at the grassy area along Bridge Street at the base of Howard Street within the old Salem jail lot for narration, provided the group does not obstruct pedestrian or vehicle passage and remains within the designated green space. And this order shall take effect as provided by city charter. And I move for adoption for first passage.
Councilor Hapworth moves for adoption for first passage. Under discussion.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, these are my two favorite topics, which are Howard Street and tour guides, and they come together here. Starting with tour guides are allowed on, contrary to popular belief, tour guides are allowed on any public street, as far as I know, in every public space in Salem that we go. They are not allowed to block spaces, to block sidewalks, to put their guests into danger, and they don't knowingly do that. Howard Street is a unique street in Salem in that it really does not have a functional sidewalk. There is street parking on Howard Street. The parking happens on the sidewalk in order to allow vehicles to pass by. It is designated as a shared street by signage, so folks traverse Howard Street by walking in the street, sharing it with bicycles and cars. It's a narrow street, cars move slowly. The issue being tour guides going down that street to go to Howard Street Cemetery and talk about Giles Corey, stop about halfway down in the middle of the street and conduct their tours. This is a dangerous place for people to be doing that sort of thing, and it's unique in Salem. There's a lot of people who would prefer not to see tour guides giving narration on their street. I understand that. On Howard Street, it is a dangerous situation. So the solution being to allow them to walk down Howard Street, move to the end to the old Salem jail lot where it's safer for their group, and conduct their stories about Giles Corey or whatever ghosts they want to talk about down there at the bottom.
Any further discussion? Councilor Marcello.
Thank you, President. My only question on this is, does the tour guide ordinance already specify that they need to be on a sidewalk out of the street when they're doing their narration or their storytelling?
Councilor Hapworth.
It does. So it does say they're not allowed to, well, it doesn't specifically call out storytelling, but you're not allowed to be in the street on a tour. You can be in crosswalks. Howard Street is a weird place that if it's a difficult thing to unpack on Howard Street because there is not a functional sidewalk there. It is a street that people walk down. Pedestrians use that space. My kids ride their bike on that. So I think we're in a gray zone where people are using it as if it were a sidewalk. It's designated as a shared street, and they're giving their tours at the middle. So this at least clarifies that those tours, that stopping and that narration is not to happen on the street. They can walk down the street to the end and then give it at the end.
Councilor Marcello.
Just to follow up. So I understand what you're saying. I'm just wondering if we need to be enforcing the current ordinance. And I bring that up because tours are also going down Botts Court, which also doesn't have a functional sidewalk. And I don't know if they're stopping along the way because I just see them coming out. And so if we have an ordinance that says that you need to be on a sidewalk, then they should not be on those streets, those two streets, and maybe others. And so instead of doing the piecemeal, one here, one there, I think we need to be looking at the ordinance and making sure that it's being enforced. That's my only comment. Thank you.
Councilor Watson-Felt.
Thank you, President Presnewski. As is often the case, two things are true. I think that, I wholeheartedly agree with Councilor Marcillo with the points that she's raised about being explicit with our ordinance language that tours are not to congregate and spill out into the street and to stand in the street. I would argue this is already a problem and not enforced when we go to places like Charter Street, when we go to places like Botts Court, right? Multiple locations in Ward 2. I also think there's a number of streets in the city that have shared similar sort of gray zones, Central Street being one of them, right, where it is both pedestrian and vehicle passing. That being said, I think that there is an emerging urgency to the Howard Street issue because of the number of tours that have begun passing down there and are stopping in those streets. It is a darker street because of the cemetery in that there is no additional light spilling out from homes or buildings. And though cars do traverse really carefully, it is very difficult to often see large groups of people, especially when they're dressed in darker clothes and the person holding the light is in front of them, right? And there's this massive group of people. So I am willing to support this Howard Street ordinance tonight for first passage, and I support the call and will work with the city solicitor on further amendments to the ordinance for the same public safety purpose of keeping people out of the street. And I do call upon tour guides and tour companies to please do better, because I have seen multiple residents in this last week alone walking their dogs, their kids in the dark in the streets to get around guides whose groups are blocking sidewalks, and it's unacceptable. And though it is a weird sort of business in that people probably sign some kind of liability waiver, you should be responsible for your customers. And Howard Street being unique is separate from the fact that we see this as a problem across the downtown and across Ward 2 and beyond. That's it. That's my comment. I will support the Howard Street tonight, and I will take it up with city solicitor to make further amendments to clarify the language in the ordinance. Thank you.
Councilor Gerslow.
Thank you, President Prosnowski. I would support the Howard Street also tonight. I am working with the city solicitor and the city clerk and the assistant city clerk on amending a few things in the tour guide ordinance. And I agree, the other night coming into the back door at City Hall, it was totally blocked by at least 40 tourists on a tour, and I had to ask at least 3 times, excuse me, to get into the door. The tour guide saw me trying to get into the back door, but didn't say anything to her group or anything to move away from the door. So it is definitely a problem, and maybe we can add it to the list while we're talking about the other issues in the ordinance. Thank you.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnowski. Yes, I just want to support what I heard from my colleagues, Councilor Watson-Felt and Councilor Marcillo. I am right in downtown and watch the tours every night, and do certainly want it continually looked at, for safety and following the guidance. But I am very familiar with Howard Street, and I am willing to vote this singled out tonight because it is an unusual, kind of a logistical nightmare there, and the end has just such a perfect safe spot at the bottom for gathering. So it's just common sense safety. So I'll support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Stott.
Thank you, President Prosnowski. I'm not familiar with the particular Howard Street situation, but I'm taking 2 takeaways from this evening. That by allowing cars to park on the street, they're taking over the sidewalk, so that seems odd to me. And the second takeaway is I'm very curious how the new public guide license guidelines that we put in place this year, part of that was training for tour guides and safety training, and I think that following the ordinance and making sure that guides and tour groups are out of the public way, I'm curious how that is happening, what the feedback on that is, and what the enforcement is. We also increased public guide fees, so there would be additional enforcement, so I'm very curious how all of that goes on. I'll support this evening because it sounds like it's an issue, sure, but I feel like this is going to get very piecemeal and very, oh, well, my street's also bad too, why am I not on there? And it just doesn't seem like a great solution to me without having a larger discussion.
Councilor Varela.
Thank you, President Hapsworth. So I am familiar with why this is happening. I think Howard Street is very unique, that there's absolutely no sidewalk. It's very narrow, and it's a hot place to go. So I will be supporting this because I think it's very unique. It is a hot place to go.
Any further discussion? Councilor Hapworth.
Just to tie off on the questions, the questions around Howard Street. So that was, the Howard Street was, I don't know, maybe 5-6 years ago, was reconstructed. There were a lot of conversations with city staff about what to do around ensuring accessibility and ensuring accessible sidewalks. The decision was made to make it designated as a shared street, at least via signage, to allow the residents on that street to continue to park on that street. It is tight. It is a hairy situation. It has always been. Anyone who is, if you went 50 years ago on Howard Street to today, people have always walked in the street on Howard, and they've always used it as sort of a shared space there. So I think it is kind of a weird place. Botts Court is another one that has a case to be made there as well. But I think that this is presenting itself as more of an urgent issue this tourist season, because there are more and more folks going down there. They're allowed to use public space just as any pedestrian would. We just need to ensure that their groups are safe when they go down there.
Councilor Stott.
Thank you, President Presnowski. I do feel that this does require a larger conversation, so I'm curious, and it sounds like there are lots of side conversations that are going on with the city solicitor and licensing and all of that conversation, and I believe this would require 2 passages. So I would like to make a motion to send the, or I guess, I know we hate doing this, first passage and send it to committee for further discussion.
Second.
Councilor Slot moves that this matter be sent to committee. Councilor Barella makes a second.
Motion for first passage. Yes, my motion was for first passage and send the matter to
Councilor
committee.
Slot moves for adoption by first passage with a request to send this to committee between first and second passage for further discussion. Councilor Varela seconded that motion. All those in favor? Yeah, which
committee? I don't have it.
Councilor Stott?
Yes. Which committee should this go to?
I would.
Well, the original, when I was the chair of CED last year, that public guide conversation happened in there, Community and Economic Development. If that's not, I mean, I want to make it to whatever the most feasible committee would be to meet in the next 2 weeks. Ola, co-post it, please.
If there's any ordinance changes to be made as a result of the discussion during that time, it'll be all this. So Councilor Stott moves that this be recommends for first pass, agrees with recommending for first passage, as Councilor Hapworth stated, with the condition that there be a committee meeting between first and second passage with Ola on the matter. All those in favor? All those opposed? That matter carries. Further committee report, further orders and resolutions. Councilor Watson-Feld.
Thank you, President Presnowski. I have a late file. In the year 2025, an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to traffic, Chapter 42, Section 75A, Section 1, temporary resident permit parking. To summarize my amendments, I am seeking to amend the effective start date of what we currently call the October resident parking, and to alter, therefore, the fines order wherein this is referenced. And I motion that we send this to, refer to OLA, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Councilor Watson-Feld moves to refer this matter to OLA and the Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Thank you.
Committee reports. Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. City of Salem and City Council, September 25th, 2025. Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. To whom is referred the matter of no turn on red, has considered said matter and would recommend adoption as amended for first passage.
Councilor Hapworth moves that this matter be adopted by first passage.
Just
on the acceptance of the report, all those in favor? All those opposed? On the adoption of the recommendation, the discussion.
All right, so we had several amendments here. So I guess before I get to the amendments, I just want to, I know that I'm sure Councilor Morcillo has something she'd like to say about this here, but I just want to just recognize her for bringing this forward. I think sometimes problems feel really big in this city, and it feels like an enormous task to take it on. And I think this was 2 years ago, this came forward, and this was an enormous task. This went through lots and lots of reviews. Was in OLA for a long time, Traffic and Parking Commission. This saw its way through elections and through multiple councils. So just kudos to Councilor Morcillo for sticking with this and seeing this through. The amendments here, just want to go over these amendments because we'll have to vote on these first. So there's 2 amendments that are minor here around just the wording of streets. So replacing street with avenue on Western Avenue or West Avenue, replacing Jefferson Street with Jefferson Avenue. There's just some mistakes made in that. And then there were 2 amendments made by Councilor Cohen. One was on Washington Street, intersection with New Derby Street and Norman Street. After the word New Derby Street, he wanted to add eastbound Norman Street to southbound Washington Street, right turn on red prohibited. And then on Washington Street, traffic control signal legend, right turn on red, intersection with Canal Street and Mill Street from northbound Canal Street to eastbound Washington Street. He wanted to remove from northbound Washington Street to northbound Washington Street, and then continuing to and from southbound Washington Street to westbound Mill Street, right turn on red prohibited. So those are the only 2 amendments that were made. Those were all in the uploaded to the share drive if you wanted to review them. And then the 2 that were around the language.
On Councilor Hapworth's motion to make the amendments based on the scrivener's error in the language clarification. Any discussion? Councilor Gerslow.
Thank you, President Prosnowski. I would just like to add one more amendment to it. I would like to take out Congress Street at Derby Street. I feel that it does pose a safety issue where people can't take a right on red, the traffic backs up. I was there today and it backed up all the way to Harbor Street. People actually cut through Pickering Wharf, which I have to say I've done it myself to avoid the red light, and I think by putting a right on red there, it would cause a huge safety issue, people cutting through Pickering Wharf. I think there's something else they can do. They did actually take out the 3 parking spots from the entrance on Congress Street from Pickering Wharf to to Derby Street. And now it is a lane to turn right onto Derby Street. I think there's definitely good vision there. You can see sight lines. I worked that beat for many years. I never had to take an accident report in that intersection, and the data does show no accidents in that intersection. So I would like to make a motion to put that Congress Street at Derby Street. Thank you.
First on Councilor Hapworth's amendment to correct the scrivener's errors and the clarification on the direction of travel at those intersections. Yeah. The first motion is to allow Councilor Hapworth's. Okay. Okay. We have to allow the scrivener's errors and the clarification in the language, correct?
So I think that what we're doing here is because we have these amendments that we've already decided as a committee. What we're going to do before that is take on Councilor, I don't think it has a second yet, but take on Councilor Jerslow's amendment that she's made. Once that vote has happened, then we'll move on to the amendments from the committee, and then we'll move forward with the full on.
I'd entertain a second.
On Councilor Jerslow's motion to amend language in the Congress and Derby Street intersection, seconded by Councilor Varela. Under further discussion, Councilor Morcillo.
Thank you, President. I will not be voting for this. I actually just had an incident there on Saturday. Saturday was a high pedestrian day. I was actually walking, waiting to cross at that crosswalk, waiting for the light with pedestrians on every single corner. And a car decided that when the walk light went on, he was going to do a right on red, regardless of the fact that the crosswalk light was on. And believe me, I had a lot of stuff to say to him. Luckily, I didn't have anything that indicated that I was a city councilor, but I just can't believe the gall of people, and that's what this is all about. It's about safety, and about a time when people are not respecting the safety of pedestrians, and so I will not be voting for this amendment.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. For the same reasons that Councilor Marcillo stated, I won't be supporting it either. Thank you.
Any further discussion on Councilor Gerslos? Councilor Harvey.
I will be voting for it. I understand that, traffic calming and, trying to slow it down, but all it's doing with all these no turn on red is creating more traffic and safety concerns by doing this, especially for first responders and the time and response time that they have. There's got to be a way to, better signage or something. More restrictions. More restrictions mean more frustration and lead to more violations. Right now there's 26 proposed new no turn on red signs, and it's creating gridlock. It will create even more gridlock in a city that's already got way too much traffic, and that's what a lot of the constituents that I've talked to, they're fed up with the traffic, they're fed up with the downtown. We're narrowing our streets with all these bump outs and all this traffic calming issues, and all this is doing is just creating more and more traffic within the city. I mean, we had a survey done before I even got on the council. I know there was a survey done, and it came back with there was actually nothing wrong. We asked for data from Lieutenant Tucker and the Transportation Department, and all the data they brought back had not one incident or accident was due to a right turn on red. So I don't understand why the professionals are telling us it's not necessary, and it just keeps getting brought up as far as, all it's doing is create more traffic. So I agree with Councilor Gerslo.
Any further discussion? I'd like to weigh in a little bit on this, because I know that it's been 4 years since we've been doing this. It was about 4 years ago when this idea was first brought forward by Councilor Marcillo. And I stated that banning right turns on red at all intersections would only worsen traffic congestion in a city that is already gridlocked on a regular basis. Rather than relying on speculation and anecdotal stories, Councilor Marcillo did the right thing. She asked for the facts. The Police Traffic Division provided the data, and that data was clear. No accidents at red light intersections were caused by drivers turning right on red. With facts like these, it should be obvious that there is no justification for 26 signs saying no right on red. Why would we make traffic worse for every driver in the city when there is no evidence that a problem even exists? The City Council is not made up of traffic engineers, and it should not be making sweeping traffic policy changes based on assumptions or personal impressions. Those decisions should be made by professional traffic engineers and always be guided by data, not anecdotal remarks. Prohibiting right turns on red at key intersections will make congestion substantially worse, forcing drivers to sit idle at empty intersections even when it is clearly safe to proceed. This in turn will increase delays, lengthen commutes, and contribute to higher emissions from idling vehicles, directly undermining both environmental and quality of life goals. Our city already struggles with congestion due to high volume of vehicles and pedestrians, especially during the months of September and October. If the goal is to improve safety, we should focus our energy on the ineffective ability to enforce both motor vehicle and pedestrian traffic. We need real solutions that make our streets safer and yet keep our city moving. If you want to truly improve pedestrian safety, there's a better path forward. My suggestion is for this council to encourage our state legislators to allow cities and towns the authority to install traffic enforcement cameras at our most congested intersections. This would directly address violations that put our public at risk without punishing responsible drivers or creating unnecessary gridlock. Let's make a decision based on evidence, and let's pursue solutions that actually improve safety without making traffic worse. Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Presnuski. And I would certainly like to see more enforcement and some action by the state that allows us to pursue better enforcement. But I would just like to speak to the point of the data. Data doesn't always tell the whole story. People do. I hear much more from people about close calls in these intersections. Being downtown a lot, I've witnessed the close calls on right turn on reds. It's definitely not speculation for me, and I just wouldn't want to see data reflecting injuries and pedestrians being gravely injured, and we have lost pedestrians here in Salem. I'm not saying specifically for right on red, but for dangerous intersections. So speeding and dangerous intersections is definitely what I hear the most about. And I do hear about traffic, but I hear those two concerns much more. So I just want to put that out there. Thank you.
Councilor Davis.
Thank you, President Presnuski. I completely agree. I think that pedestrian safety has got to be our top priority. I'm sorry that people have to wait in traffic. I think congestion is a very real issue. I support ways that we can manage that. It's not more important than people feeling safe navigating our streets. I completely agree with Councilor Merkel. The data does not tell the whole story. We have been prioritizing cars and car infrastructure for way too long, and I really, really appreciate this being in the council long before I was on the council, and the work that's been done on this, especially from Councilor Marcillo. This is a really important step away from treating cars like they're more important than people. People have got to feel safe, and we don't have to wait for data to show so many accidents and deaths. We can also look at people feeling constantly intimidated and scared on our streets when they're trying to lawfully go on a crosswalk and a car is zooming by them. That also matters to me. I guess it's only data if they get hit, but I strongly support this and strongly oppose the amendment.
Councilor Marcillo.
Thank you, President. I was going to give this this longer explanation when the whole thing is being voted on, but I will start here. First, I would like to thank my colleagues for all the time put into taking proactive measures to keep everyone on our roads and sidewalks safe. And thank you to Councilor Hapworth, who chaired the meetings to get this over the finish line. I also want to thank David Kucharski, Christina Hodges, Lieutenant Tucker, and the Transportation Commission for bringing the work back to the Commission to develop the amendments before us. My wish is that the Commission takes on citywide studies like this in the future. We need to do more citywide to keep everyone safe. My goal when introducing this a few years ago was public safety. Reducing the risk for vulnerable road users is still my goal. Data overwhelmingly shows that where right on red is allowed, drivers approach intersections, roll through a red light while looking to the left in the direction of oncoming traffic, not seeing what is happening to the right and even ahead until it's too late. There are plenty of stories from people right here in Salem that have experienced cars not stopping for pedestrians in crosswalks. When studying each intersection and whether a right on red would be allowed, many factors were considered. Crash data and injuries, including deaths, geometry of the intersection and sight lines, and pedestrian numbers. My quibble is those who question the removal of a right on red by asking how many crashes have occurred or how many pedestrians have been hit or killed. How many are necessary before we act? How much damage must be done? How many people need to be hit or injured or killed? Give me that number and then we can talk. Stopping for a red light only adds a few seconds to your trip. While drivers are trying to get somewhere as quickly as possible, pedestrians are trying to get somewhere safely. It should not be the burden of pedestrians to take on the anxiety of a driver who left late for an appointment or is simply frustrated by the number of cars on the road. The pedestrians are not adding to traffic. Drivers are adding to traffic. Whenever discussing pedestrian safety with others, the argument always turns to pedestrians who cross outside of the crosswalk or cross while looking at their phone. I will counter right now that the number of drivers with their phone in their hand, looking at messages, even texting, is more than half. Stand at any intersection and look at the drivers. The bottom line is that crosswalks do not assure any safety right now, and we need every tool we can get to bring safety back. Drivers insist on taking their right on red regardless of how many are trying to cross with the crosswalk light. Does this happen with every light cycle? No, but it happens enough to make every pedestrian nervous while crossing. And this doesn't even address the number of cars and trucks parked or stopped right on top of the crosswalk, requiring pedestrians to bypass the marked crosswalk to cross safely. Again, this is happening continuously at Riley Plaza and on Washington Street, even right across from City Hall. If I am known for nothing else, I will be happy knowing that I introduced this study and advocated for safer crosswalks and streets for every user. I leave my city councilors with one thought. Please don't wait for someone to die before pushing for changes that will make our streets safer. I will forever remember the young woman killed crossing Jefferson Avenue a few years ago, an intersection that had been discussed for improvements for years, a known problem intersection. We still would not have the new traffic light and safety improvements at Wilson and Jefferson Ave if it weren't for her tragic death and my insistence that the money be found for the new light immediately. I don't want to lose any more pedestrians due to insufficient safety measures, especially when we know there are issues. Right on red is a safety issue at many intersections in Salem, and I'm happy to see first passage of these amendments tonight.
Councilor Gersolo.
Thank you, President Prosnowski. I just wanted to reiterate what I was, Congress and Derby Street. I'm not saying that I agreed with a lot of the right-on-reds in my ward, Webb and Essex Street, I agreed on that. The Congress and Derby Street, it's actually causing a safety issue in Pickering Wharf. I'm a walker, I walk 5 miles every other day throughout the downtown, all through the city. I cross a lot of crosswalks. I think there's something else that can be done without taking the right on red away. When there's a pedestrian crossing, there are lights that they can put up saying no turn on red while the pedestrian light is on. I do agree with a lot of them that we agreed on throughout the city, but this one I do not agree on. I think it's going to cause a more safety issue with people walking through Pickering Wharf and cars speeding through it. I see it now, and I'm just afraid someone's going to get hurt in Pickering Wharf. Thank you.
Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, President. I was the liaison to the Transportation Committee the first year this was there, and it was kind of exhausting because I think they really took it seriously. I have Lafayette Street, which is the second most traveled road to Highland Ave, and the biggest complaints I have are people either go too fast or too slow. No one ever says, hey, everyone's going the right speed. We are a complete street city. That means a lot. There are people who are trying to push, zero accident as a theme, but regarding like the narrowing of the roads, like me personally, I don't ride bike. I'm scared of riding a bike, but I appreciate the bike lane narrows the road, and that makes it safer for everyone. And complete streets is to make the streets safe for vehicles, people who have mobility challenges, pedestrians especially. I do agree that it's impossible to enforce all this. One of the things that you and I talked about yesterday or today, Council President, was watching someone at a right on red that doesn't stop, which is the requirement. And we only have 4 signs that say red on red after stop, and I have one of them, and it actually works, especially for tourists. But and so I do believe that the actual fix, which we can't do now, is video enforcement. We just can't get enough people to enforce when people don't obey the rules at all. I have a lot of the right-on reds that were considered in this ordinance. I can't say I totally agree with all of them, but I went to every single intersection and sat there, and I brought up some that I wouldn't have realized until West Ave to take a right onto Lafayette Street, where I couldn't possibly see one car coming from Marblehead. And we have timed people at 70 miles an hour on that stretch. I do also think that this is a bigger story, because one of the things that Councilor Marcillo said, this is really just about making the roads safer, and for pedestrians especially. And I think it's fine that we went through this. We may change some of these again. I was blown away personally that the Norman to Washington Ave wasn't included originally, because I think that is crazy dangerous right on red. But I also think that in my ward specifically, the most dangerous areas of the street for pedestrians are actually crosswalks, which is scary. At Savoy, people know that it's part of the new project that Councilor Varela and I have been working on with the Transportation Department. But I'm going to bring up this other intersection that you and I spoke about, which is, if anyone knows it, around Lafayette Park, it's Harbor Street meets Washington Street. It's a 3-way, and even though as part of us trying to make it safer, we put a stop sign on one of the places, no one who travels in any direction understands who's got the right of way. And so if you try to cross the street at Habernacle Cycles, you are really in danger. So I'm just saying, we should try this. I do feel like there's some in my ward that, maybe I could have, fought harder or whatever, but the ones that I was really, adamant about, the committee agreed to change one way or the other. And I think this is really, I think Councilor Marcillo really, the best part of her initiative for me is to bring light on the fact that we really have a lot of precarious situations. A lot of people are walking because the sidewalks, obviously that's a long-term project, are walking in the street. We have streets, there's all sorts of issues. Some of Lafayette Street is so dark that people can't see pedestrians. So this is a much bigger thing, not just the right on reds, but I think this was an exercise that showed the ability to collaborate, the council and a city board that did a lot of work together to come up with, something in front of the council that potentially is going to make things safer.
Councilor Stott.
Thank you, President Prozewski. To get back to the discussion about the motion on the floor to amend to Congress and Derby. Thank you. To get back to that topic, I know we veered a lot, and I definitely can't speak as eloquently as Councilor Marcillo did with her speech, but basically I just copy-paste for me. But one note that I wanted to make is that it's not necessarily about going through the right or red. It's the creep. It's the mentality that you have to actually stop and you can't go any further. 100%. It's oh, I can stop, but I can go. So you start creeping, and then, a pedestrian does show up, and there's a car in the middle of the crosswalk, and nothing can happen. So the evidence that counselors are looking for is a pedestrian being hit. And that is not something that I am comfortable with waiting for. If anybody's comfortable with that, go to any school dismissal in the city of Salem and walk home with those kids. Walk home with my kid that crosses Essex Street. Walk home with my kid that crosses North Street. Walk home with my kid that crosses Washington Street. Like, it is treacherous and scary. And obviously, she's a Salem kid, so she's well versed in crossing these, like all of our kids are, unfortunately. But they don't walk when the walk sign is on. They know to still stop and look and walk around the cars that are there and make eye contact with the driver. Like, it's crazy, the extra enforcement that a pedestrian, someone that's not in a 2-ton box, needs to do to just get to their destination safely. That is much more important than getting to a destination on time, in my opinion. And I also would like to note there were other comments made about how we're doing broad brush strokes and change. That is 100% the opposite of what happened during this process. And I would like to call that out and thank the Transportation Commission, obviously thank Councilor Marcillo for following this up, Councilor Hapworth for taking this up with Ola. 100%, there was no, oh, we're banning right on red in the city of Salem. That did not happen. This was the most thorough conversation, I think, that I have been probably definitely the longest. Maybe ADUs were another long one. But it couldn't have gotten any more thorough. And to say that this is a broad brush and we're just making this change is a downright lie. It's not correct. And we're not banning right on reds in the entirety of the city of Salem. I'm not going to wait for evidence. And there were also lots of other suggestions like enforcement cameras, and bring that in front of us. I will sign. I will write a letter to the editor. I will go to the State House and support that. Nobody else is doing that. This is the matter in front of us. This is how we can start to make the streets safer, and let's keep going and doing more. So, and for this motion that we are under discussion, I am not in support of as well.
Any further discussion? I do have a question for the city clerk when she finishes. Madam Clerk. Are we allowed to proceed without the recommendation from the Traffic Division? I believe that we haven't gotten the recommendation from the Police Department Traffic Division yet, and I'm not sure what the ruling is and whether we can vote for first passage or whether they actually continue on and wait for the recommendation between the first and second passage, which I would have no problem with, but I'm not sure that the rules state. I'm not sure what the rules state, whether or not we can do that.
Can we move for a recess? 5-minute recess.
5-minute recess. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay. Well, there was a discussion about rules concerning whether or not we could vote on first passage without the input from the Police Traffic Division. There was a discussion about making first passage and then waiting for the recommendation, which I don't agree with, because I'm not sure whether it's a rules violation or not. But we are voting on Councilor Jerslow's amendment to take out the right on red at Derby and Congress Street. So we can at least going from Congress Street north to Derby Street east. So that was seconded by Councilor Varela. So all those in favor of taking that particular intersection out, please raise your hand.
I request a roll call vote.
Councilor Varela requests a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, let me know when you're ready. I'm sorry, a second. Seconded by Councilor Harvey.
Counsel Watson Felt,
No.
Counsel Varela,
No.
Counsel Stott,
No.
Counsel Marcillo,
No.
Counsel Merkel,
No.
Counsel Jerslow,
Yes.
Counsel Harvey,
Yes.
Counsel Hapworth,
No.
Counsel Davis,
No.
Counsel Cohen,
No.
and Counsel Prosnewski.
Yes. On the order of amending the no right on red at Congress and Derby, we have eight nays and 3 yeas. The motion by Councilor Jerslow does not carry. Councilor Hapworth? That was the amendment.
That was the Councilor Jerslow's amendment, then we would move on to the 4 amendments that came out of committee. I would think we want to suspend the rules now, or make the motion to suspend the rules if someone wanted to do that right now, and then continue forward with this discussion. I don't know if we want to take the amendments up first. It's new territory for me here. Madam City Clerk, what's the proper order here?
I would take up I would just read, you made that ordinance in committee, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would, well, everybody has a copy in front of them. I mean, whether you want to read it all, you can read the repealing and replacing, or you can just, because there was you did the Scribner's notes, and you did, is there anything else that had to be fixed?
No.
So you can fix those, and then you can take it up as
Can I make a
right.
Councilor, councilors, we're still under the rules. Our clerk has the floor.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by reading through? It's two amendments plus 2 errors.
Yeah, the council, and then Council Cohen's, Scribner's of the staff, and Jefferson Ave, and then, and Dick Alden, Council Cohen's, and everyone else was.
So you're saying we vote on those now, and then...
I vote on this now, and then I would ask for suspension of the rules to take up first passage as amended, first passage of.
So we're going to vote on the amendments on the Scribner's errors and the direction of travel on the intersections and streets, West Ave, Jefferson Ave, that were named streets instead of avenue, and also the direction of the intersections. Councilor Hapworth.
Yep, just as a reminder to everyone here, the 2 errors are replacing street with avenue on West, or avenue with street on West Ave, and replacing street with avenue on Jefferson Avenue. So those are the 2 errors, and then the 2 intersections that were changed on Councilor Cohen's recommendation was to add the eastbound Norman Street to southbound Washington Street turn into the prohibitions on right turn on red, and to remove the Washington Street at Washington Street turn from the right turn on red prohibitions. So we're adding a right turn on red prohibition and removing one from the recommendations.
On those amendments, Councilor Hapworth just mentioned, all those in favor, all those opposed. The matter carries. I would, Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend under section 35. Looks like 35, but it's section 30A.
Second.
I'm a voting member. I would object only because I want to get this right. I'm the president of this council, and I want to make sure that we're doing everything correctly. We can, just like Councilor Marcello said, we waited 2 weeks. We waited 4 years. We can wait another 2 weeks to get it right, so that when we do take this vote, we have done it by the book, and we also have a recommendation from the police department. And then it's done, and it's done properly. Councilor Watson-Feld.
Due respect, President Prosnewski, we can move forward as a governing body legally tonight by suspending the rules for first passage and then get the recommendation from the police department before second passage. We've already done that once tonight, right? We've already made passage of first passage on an ordinance and then decided we're going to have another meeting and a conversation before second. This body does it all the time. So I appreciate you allowing me to comment on this. I am completely startled at this point in the process that after the entire conversation that just took place in recess and understanding our legal rights as a governing body in this city, that we are well within our rights to suspend the rule, vote on first passage, and still get the recommendation from the police department. I am baffled. This thing has been 4 years in the making, and we joke that we can wait 2 more weeks, but the reality is there is an urgency here. There's 5 more meetings before this council is done, and I'm very frustrated.
And I was in agreement with you right from the beginning to pass it for first passage, wait for the police recommendation before the vote was taken for second passage. My only doubt was, are we within our right to do that? And
That's what the process is supposed to be.
okay.
Let's move on.
Yeah. Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, President. We suspend the rules like we suspended it for the people to come up and tell us why they wanted to be on the commissions. I'm just wondering, I don't know if it's 2 years, 4 years, it seems like a long time. I just don't know why, if that was so important, why someone didn't ask for the police to weigh in, because Lieutenant Tucker is not only on a voting member of the transportation, he was at every OLA meeting that the joint meetings, I mean, truthfully, I am like so sick of all the meetings we had on this subject, but we had joint meetings and we had regular OLA meetings. I think we had like 8 meetings outside of the full council.
Just point of order. Point of order, we certainly have the right to suspend if we want to. Any member also has the right to object. So we've tried to suspend. A member has objected. I think we need to move the conversation along and move to the next agenda item.
Councilor Stott.
I'll be quick. I also would like to point out that the rule also states that the recommendation needs to be voiced by the ward councillor. So every ward councillor here, please be prepared in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Moving on to the next matter. Further committee reports. Councilor Marcello, would you take the podium, please?
Councilor Prosnewski.
Thank you, Councilor Marcello. Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter of receiving an update on the Salem High School building report, has conducted the said matter and is recommending that the meeting be minutes from the meeting be received and filed.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. On adoption of the recommendation, Councilor Prosnewski.
Thank you, Councilor Marcello. We did have a joint public hearing with the school committee, which was very spirited. I think we all saw the labor forces come out in opposition of the PLA agreement that was done. I just want to remind the public that nothing was voted on that day. We listened to a lot of public comment on labor agreements, and we moved forward. One thing that did come out of the meeting was the new school will receive 45 to 60% state funding if we do decide to, for the new school. If we were to repair our old high school, which is in a very dilapidated condition, we would be responsible for 100% of that. And more questions were raised about the impact on the taxes for the citizens on what this new high school would do to their tax rate. So the matter continues, and I move that it be received and filed.
Any further discussion? Councillor Stott.
Thank you, President Morcillo. I would just like to comment, since we didn't really get into the weeds of the high school project during the committee of the whole meeting, so I would like to welcome all of my fellow councilors to learn about the project, learn about what's going to be in front of you next year if you are still in this body, learn about what's going to be in front of the residents next year, and learn about the really amazing, great things that are being discussed and reviewed. I'm missing a high school building committee meeting tonight where they're going over these like super cool things. This is all online available, of the new athletic fields, bike lane circulation. Like, hello, these are all just amazing things. The program space, building locations. This is the most amazing opportunity, I think, for our kids here in Salem, in, I think, my lifetime here in Salem, and I am so excited for it, and I am so bummed that our meeting was hijacked and we were not able to get into the weeds of this conversation, but it is what it is, and I would really, really recommend for everyone here to learn about the project, ask your questions that you have, meet with Superintendent Zreich. We are out tabling at every city event. If you can think of any city events that we could be out tabling at to talk about this project. We have like really cool boards. I'm going to be at the football game tomorrow night talking about it. We've been at the farmers markets, open school nights, any organizations, neighborhood meetings that you have, please welcome the building committee to come so we can talk, because this is going to be a big topic next year, and the conversations are not, some of them might be about what we talked about at the meeting last week, but the majority of the conversations are going to be about other topics. What is in it for the teachers? What are the changes for the students? Do we all know that this building's going to be moved along Highland Ave? Like, I think that's one of the coolest things, is creating this campus, a really open, welcoming field there. These are just such great moving forward items that I hope we can focus on and get a state of the schools from the superintendent before the end of the year, and really focus our conversation on what this is going to mean for everyone.
Councillor Watson-Felt.
Thank you, President Marcello. I am so excited now. You had such passion, Councillor Stott. I wanted to comment, actually, that these boards were available and visible at this last weekend's book swap event at the CLC in Ward 2, and they were wonderful, really informative, and one of the suggestions that I had made, I wanted to share here, was that maybe there should be a couple of organized tours after school hours, of course, in 2026 to help folks see the state of this building. Councillor Porosnewski quite accurately described it as a dilapidated building. The grounds are equally in poor shape, and I have my own personal safety concerns, given I'm now a parent of a high schooler, and I look so forward to the future for Salem and for Salem's kids with this project. So I will not be on the council next year, but my whole heart is walking through that door every single day, and I look forward to the community engagement on the matter. Thank you, and thank you to Councillor Stott for that great update.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councillor Porosnewski's motion that the presentation on the Salem High School building project be received and filed. All those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries.
For other committee reports, Councilor Varela.
Thank you, President Porosnewski. City of Salem and City Council, December 25th, 2025. The Committee on Government Services co-posted with the Committee of a Whole, to whom was preferred the matter of creating a policy concerning City Council chambers, has considered said matter and would recommend adoption.
On the acceptance of the report, all those in favor? All those opposed? On the adoption of the recommendation under discussion.
Thank you, President Presnowski. So we had a lengthy conversation with the committee, as well as our city solicitor, Beth Renard. So when it comes to the policy, I believe Councillor Stott did email everybody the non-redlined version of the proposed ordinance. And just to go through a few things, and I'm going to ask Councillor Stott to come in on a little bit here, just to be more thorough here. So as far as the ordinance itself, I believe it's pretty self-explanatory. Councillor Stott worked with City Solicitor Beth Renard on drafting language that would be very specific in what's allowed and uses, everything down to private and commercial uses that are not permitted without the majority of City Council approval. I do have to say that unfortunately our City Clerk was not able to be at the meeting because it was preliminary election night, and Eileen did have a few comments that we weren't able to get from her. And I guess overarching, when it comes to private uses that are not permitted by City Council without the majority of approval, I guess the question for Eileen is, what's the procedure for this? And I'm assuming it's going to be the same as it's going to go through the city clerk, and the city clerk's going to ask and request councilors to weigh in on this, or we have to set a meeting because we are a body. As far as the procedures for scheduling, we got through how this is going to happen when it comes to reservations, requests through the mayor's office. And I'm going to allow Councillor Stott to talk a little bit about this.
Sure. If I may.
Thank you, Councilor Varela. Councilor Stott.
Thank you, President Presnowski. Thank you, Councilor Varela, for holding space to have this conversation. And I think your recap discussed the two main items that we had in that meeting. The first one was the ordinance edits. So the current ordinance says no person shall use the council chambers and council subcommittee anteroom in the city hall without the permission of the city council. This authority may be delegated to the city clerk. That's our current language. The recommendation is to replace it with use of the council chambers in the city hall shall be subject to the policy established on September 25th, 2025 by city council order as may be amended from time to time by the City Council. At all times, access to the council chambers shall be fully compliant with the American Disabilities Act. Permission to use the council subcommittee anteroom outside of time scheduled for meetings of the City Council or its subcommittee shall be delegated by the city clerk. So that's the actual ordinance language. We didn't put any uses or policy within the ordinance. That's all outside in the allowable uses policy that was reviewed by the city solicitor, by HR, and by the city clerk as well. In summary, the 5 allowable uses are events or other meetings approved by the office of the mayor, the election department, pre-election and election day overflow work, public safety swearing in and our special citation ceremonies, city staff celebrations or events requested by HR, and weddings performed by the Salem City Clerk Office Justice of the Peace. See additional policy. So that's really kind of high level of the 2 pieces that were voted on to recommend for approval by this full body, the ordinance edit language that was just discussed, as well as approval of the usage and policy procedures for scheduling and rules for council chamber.
Thank you, Councillor Stott. So moving forward, I think that this is a great step to having a policy. I know that when it comes to the concerns, it really comes down to accessibility. This is a public building. Not only do we have events here, but we need to have a standard for that. So I think that this is a great move forward, and I'd move for adoption. Just for clarification, this is an ordinance, but it creates one adoption. There's no first passage, second, right? It's just an adoption. Correct? Yes. For tonight. Okay, great. So I would move for first passage.
On the adoption, but any further discussion? Seeing none. On Councilor Varela's recommendation to adopt by roll call vote, first passage on an ordinance change?
Yeah, hand vote.
Okay. We'll have a roll call vote on the adoption of the recommendation offered by Councilor Varela on the use of the council chambers. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further committee reports. Councilor Varela.
Thank you, President Prosnowski. City of Salem and City Council, September 25th, 2025. The Committee on Government Services co-posted with the Committee of Whole, to whom was referred the matter of weddings at City Hall, has considered said matter and would recommend adoption.
On the acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Councilor Varela, under discussion.
Thank you, President Prosnowski. So I think I got, sorry? I got you. I'll get into it, obviously. All right, 1 second here. Very good. All right, so we had the meeting tonight, and we got to discuss in specifics how we set the wedding policy. I do have to note that once we do this, we're also going to be rescinding Order 206, which is no weddings in City Hall. So that's also going to come out of this for adoption. So we had a discussion about specifically what took most of us in the weeds is the number of persons allowed in City Hall during a wedding. We came down to 8 persons, which seems reasonable. We had a long discussion about that. Number 3, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place here. One second, guys. Move on to number 9, which is the wedding couple must check into room 3 approximately 15 minutes before the ceremony to renew the marriage license. We did add the length of time for a wedding takes place is 30 minutes, 15 minutes between weddings. That was one amendment we made to this, as well as, if I can read my writing here, is number 10, and then number 10 would move, number 10 that's currently there is going to move down to number 11, which is guests must abide by all rules applicable to the city offices. By replacing that with number 10, the city clerk is responsible for ensuring compliance with the policy and may take appropriate action if the rules are not followed. So that is going to be another amendment to the wedding policy. And number 2, location of ceremonies shall be within the south side of chambers that are delineated by the stanchions that were in place that we discussed tonight. So with that, I feel confident that we have a wedding policy that's clearly expressed and written out, so that not only do the wedding parties that come here in Salem, to Salem City Hall Council Chambers, understand the rules, but also what's allowed here when it comes to a wedding. And again, rescinding order number 206. Once we do this, I would call for first adoption. I'm sorry, for first passage. No, this, for clarification, this is just adoption. Thank you, it's a policy. And when we do that, weddings will be allowed to take place in City Hall going forward. So with that, I recommend adoption.
Any further discussion? Councilor Stott.
Thank you, President Prosnowski, and thank you, Chair Varela. I would just add one other addition that we put into the policy received by the city clerk. Under number 8, it was when ceremony is over, guests are expected to leave council chambers. Just a little bit of housekeeping. I appreciate working through this. We also, did you mention the one about they have to occur on this side? Okay. So working through this, it feels really nitpicky, which I apologize for, but I think setting expectations and level set of what rules can be enforced is going to be helpful for all parties. I would also like to note out that weddings are just inherently different than the other allowable uses that we have noted in our new council chamber policy. They are just by nature a private event and make it a little more awkward for people to walk through. They also could be a little loud, but I will also say other events that are held in council chambers can also make a lot of noise and also be disruptive. So this is not a call out that weddings are a problem in council chambers. This is just a call out that these are additional guidelines that you can provide to the public to help level set expectations of when they come into council chambers, that they can enjoy this beautiful room, but it is not a function hall. It's a place of business. And I hope all of the allowable uses that we are granting within this evening for chambers also follow the basic level of respect in that regard as well. And thank you for the time. It was a long time coming, so I appreciate that, and I would like to say, have fun on Halloween to the city clerks.
Any further discussion on Councilor Varela's motion to adopt the recommendation on wedding ceremonies held in City Council? All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further committee reports, Councilor Varela.
Thank you, President. The City of Salem City Council, December 25th, 2025, the Committee on Government Services co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom it was referred the matter of City Council to delegate authority to grant permission for the use of City Council chambers in the anteroom to the City Clerk after approval by the City Council President, has considered said matter and would recommend no action. So, I'm sorry.
On the acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Councilor Varela.
Thank you, President Prosniewski. So this is just a little house cleaning. This is an order submitted by me, and this is one of the last orders that has to do with the policy. So this is going to be discharged. Just wanted to kind of clean house when it comes to anything related to a city council policy.
Any further discussion? Seeing none on Councilor Varela's motion to adopt a policy on granting permission for the use of Salem City Council chambers.
Discharge.
Discharging. All those in favor of discharge? All those opposed? Matter carries. Communications from city officials.
We have a communication from Patty Kelleher, Preservation Planner, recommending Community Preservation Act CPA funding for the City Hall entrance doors restorations in the amount of $9,350 from the CPA fund balance.
Councilor Watson-Feld.
Thank you, President Prosniewski. I move this be adopted.
Councilor Watson-Feld moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you, President Prosniewski. The letter that Madam City Clerk shared with this body had a few points of interest, but for the public's awareness, the work is looking to be conducted in the spring as a part of the tradition of revitalizing and restoring the front door of City Hall in advance of our quadricentennial. The reference point in the letter to CPA was that it was also done at the tercentennial, and this will come out of the CPA fund balance, as you can see here. Thank you.
Any further discussion? On Councilor Watson-Feld's recommendation that the CPA funding pay for the $9,350 for the restoration of City Hall doors. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Petitions.
We have a petition from National Grid and Verizon to install one jointly owned pole in front of 9 Franklin Street.
Hearing ordered on October 9th. Further petitions.
We have a request from B&S Fitness to hold Devil's Chase Creepy Clown Road Race and use the city streets on October 18th, 2025 from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m.
Councilor Gerslow.
Thank you, President Prosniewski. I move this be granted.
Councilor Gerslow moves this race be granted. Under discussion.
Yes, I only have one condition, that they do a better job at cleaning up the trash, the cups at the water stations they have throughout the city. This past weekend, they held the half marathon, and just walking through downtown at the different water stations, there was a lot of cups and trash left around in the streets, and they only went to pick it up after I chased somebody down at the beginning of the race to go pick up the cups. So I just asked that one condition. Sometimes we see a lot of that through the neighborhoods, that they don't go back to clean up the cups. maybe put a little, couple extra trash cans. Down the Willows, I know the Park and Rec, their motto is carry in, carry out. There's not a lot of trash bags down there, trash containers, so maybe they could supply a few for that day. Thank you, and I move it be granted.
Any further discussion? On Councilor Gerstlow's motion that this be granted, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
A request from Boys and Girls Club of Greater Salem to hold their Wild Turkey 5-mile road race and use the city streets on November 27, 2025, from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Councilor Watson-Felt.
Thank you, President Prezinski. I move this be granted.
Councilor Watson-Felt moves that this be granted. Under discussion.
Thank you, President Prezinski. It is the Wild Turkey 5-miler. It is our annual event. The Boys and Girls Club has been running this, joke, pun intended, for many, many years, and it's always a really wonderful citywide event with a lot of great participation. So if folks listening at home have never seen or heard of it before, please check it out and throw them your support and attend the event in some way, shape, or form. It's super fun, and you can wear turkey costumes. Thanks.
Any further discussion? Councilor Watson-Felt's motion that this race be granted. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have a request from UCAN Sports LLC to hold Marblehead Half Marathon Road Race and use the city streets on April 12, 2026, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Councilor Varela.
Way far out, but I move this be granted.
Councilor Varela moves that this be granted. Under discussion.
No discussion.
Seeing none. All those in favor of granting this road race? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have petition from the residents of Fowler Street to hold a block party at Fowler Street and North Pine Street, October 11th, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. with a rain date of October 12th.
Councilor Watson-Felt.
Thank you, Councilor Prezinski. I move this be granted.
Councilor Watson-Felt moves it be granted. Under discussion.
Thank you, President Prezinski. Just wishing the residents over there a wonderful and fun event and that they stay safe on their streets. Thanks.
On the motion by Councilor Watson-Felt that this be granted, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have a request from J.J. Fallon & Son for authorization to perform Sunday work and select fall 2025 holidays for the Salem Willows Phase 2 Park renovation project.
Councilor Gerslow.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I just got a couple conditions. I spoke with the business owner, Charlie Hobbs of Hobbs's Popcorn, and he requested no Sunday work until after October 25th and no work on Indigenous Peoples' Day. Added his last two weekends, last two big weekends that he'll be open, and the work being done is very disruptive to his business. It's actually right alongside his business. I also spoke to the project manager, Jim Nishihi of J.J. Phelan and Company, and he's okay with not doing work on Sundays until after October 25th and on Indigenous People Day. So if you like the Hobbs's Popcorn, everybody be sure to get out there before October 25th. Thank you. I move it be granted, adopted.
Those conditions.
Any further discussion? On Councilor Gerslow's recommendation that this be adopted, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have a list of public guides, taxi operators, and vehicle for hire operators only.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move these be granted.
Councilor Hapworth moves that these be granted. Under discussion.
No discussion.
Councilor Hapworth moves that these licenses be granted. All in favor? All opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have 3 claims.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs.
Moves that these be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs. All those in favor? All those opposed? Further petitions.
We have 2 drain layer contract operator licenses.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move these be granted.
Councilor Hapworth moves that they be granted. Under discussion.
No discussion.
All those in favor? All those opposed? That carries. Further petitions.
We have 2 drain layer bonds.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs and return approved.
Councilor Hapworth moves that these be referred to the committee. Ordinances, licenses, and legal affairs returned approved. Under discussion?
No discussion.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Unfinished business.
We have the second passage to amend an ordinance relative to Chapter 22, Section 6, noise control on the Essex Street pedestrian mall.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just one amendment that you guys have all seen, I believe, and you may all have in front of you right now as well. The Salem PD has reached out and asked that we add one more performance zone here. So just as a reminder, what we're voting on here is an update to the decibel limits downtown to make it more enforceable. This included previously 2 performance zones, one in front of the Essex Street pedestrian mall fountain, and then another one on Front Street. This is going to add a performance zone from New Derby Street to Essex Street along Washington Street, and then from Essex Street to Church Street along Washington. So it excludes the busy Bewitched statue center there, but adds performance zones on both sides of that, and that's the recommendation of Salem PD to spread out the performers a little bit and to avoid disputes and confrontations that might arise from limited performance space for the ones that are using amplification.
Any further discussion? On the motion to move to adopt for second passage as amended.
I think we had to vote on the amendment first, and then we'll vote on the second passage, Mr. President.
On Councilor Hapworth's amendment, all those in favor? All those opposed? On his adoption, his motion to adopt for second passage, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have a second passage to amend the zoning on multifamily parking.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for adoption for second passage.
Hapworth moves for adoption by second passage. Under discussion?
No discussion.
You got 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. It's two separate votes here. So we have the first one that is two-thirds vote, and then the second that'll be only requires simple majority. So we'll move on the first one, sections 5.4.3, 9.5.3, 9.5.6.
Discussion?
No discussion.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Watson-Felt?
Yes.
Council Varela?
Yes.
Council Stott?
Yes.
Council Marcello?
Yes.
Council Merkel?
Yes.
Council Gerslow?
No.
Council Harvey?
Yes.
Council Hapworth?
Yes.
Council Davis?
Yes.
Council Cohen? And Council Prosnewski?
Yes. On the second passage to amend the zoning multifamily parking, we have 10 yeas, one nay, matter carries. Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I'll move for adoption for second passage by roll call vote for the remaining sections, which only requires simple majority.
On the discussion?
No discussion.
Seeing no discussion, seeing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Watson-Felt?
Yes.
Council Varela?
Yes.
Council Stott?
Yes.
Council Marcello?
Yes.
Council Merkel?
Yes.
Council Gerslow?
No.
Council Harvey?
Yes.
Council Hapworth?
Yes.
Council Davis?
Yes.
Council Cohen? And Council Prosnewski?
Yes. On the motion to adopt the second passage to amend zoning multifamily parking for the remaining sections, we have 10 yeas, one nay, matter carries. Further petitions, further unfinished business.
We have the second passage of an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to Chapter 12, Section 170, fees for telecommunication attachments in the right-of-way and temporary placement of equipment.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for second passage. Move for adoption for second passage.
Councilor Hapworth moves for adoption for second passage. Under discussion?
No discussion.
Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further unfinished business.
We have a second passage of an ordinance to amend traffic, Chapter 42, Section 43, prohibiting truck deliveries on Essex Street on the pedestrian mall.
Councilor Watson-Felt.
Thank you, President Presniewski. I move for adoption for second passage.
Councilor Watson-Felt moves for adoption, second passage. Under discussion?
No discussion.
Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further unfinished business?
We have a second passage of an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to Chapter 2, Section 272, City Council meetings.
Councilor Stott?
I move for adoption for second passage.
Councilor Stott moves for adoption for second passage. Under discussion? Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I reached out to the mayor today just to ask about the election commission. Looks like we will not have an election commission there'll be a September election next year. We won't have an election commission up and running at that point. So I think the vacations will probably be off the table for 3 weeks in August, and this would push us into another week with a council or regular council meeting here. Understanding we may have a special meeting or a need for a special meeting, I think it would be my preference here probably to amend the language here to allow for a regular meeting in July, no meeting in August, with the exception of the potential for a special meeting. And then next year, when we have an election commission up and running, which should be for the November election of next year, rewrite the ordinance to come back in and have our 2 regular meetings, one in July, one in August. So the amendment that I would make would be to add the language, to strike the language around July and August and say, except the months of July and August, in July there shall be 1 regular meeting with the meeting date set by the council president prior to the first day of February each calendar year. In August, no regular meetings shall be scheduled. Those special meetings may be called in accordance with the charter.
Any further discussion? On Councilor Hapworth's amendment.
I need a second still.
Sorry. Councilor Harvey. Second. Councilor Harvey seconds. Any further discussion? On Councilor Hapworth's. I'm sorry. Councilor Morcillo.
Thank you. I'm completely unaware of this whole discussion, which is unfortunate. I do not agree with this. There are 4 weeks in August, and I'm not sure why an election next year would get in the way of planning a meeting. The meeting date would be set in the beginning of the year when the election schedule is known. The whole point of this is to get away from these huge gaps and the need to create a special meeting, in which case no one can plan their summer vacation. So I'm not sure why this got tied up with the election commission. This is not election commission related at all.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. It was put forward with an understanding that we would have an election commission. I think that my understanding is that typically before an election, it is all hands on deck, and we have the 3 weeks prior to the election are typically blocked off for vacations. I mean, vacations aren't everything, but I do think it's important for the folks who work in the city clerk's office to have time with their family at some point in the month of August and not push all of that into the month of July. I'm completely on board with everything that we have in here moving forward. I just think that needs to happen after we have an election commission.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. Yeah, I was hoping we'd have the election commission in place as well. In an earlier conversation, my understanding is that there's 3 weeks where vacations aren't allowed because of the election season going on. So it would be more difficult then in the 1 week left to try to have a meeting, and then more vacation time wouldn't be taking. This is why I'm really hoping we get an election commission, which we need it. But I'm willing to continue hearing about this discussion tonight.
Councilor Stott.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. The intent of this edit, which just to remind everyone, our current ordinance states that we meet twice in July and twice in August. That's what our current ordinance states. And the intent of this edit was to help everybody schedule, everybody being the clerk's office, being the entire city staff that needs to put items in front of us, and not in a rushed manner, and not us feeling rushed of why did you late to the last minute? Anyway, it's all about scheduling, efficiency, and continuing the running of city business. That is the intent. The election commission would be nice, right? Because that will separate the two and it will provide different schedules. But that is not the intent. This is not tied into the Election Commission. This is the intent of this edit was for transparency of continuing city business, not just with the council and the clerk's office, but with the entirety of the city, with the public knowing when we will meet, for us knowing when we will meet, and for the city submitting bond orders, submitting petitions for polls so buildings can go open, so people can live in them. That was the intent of this. And if we can't find a meeting date in the month of July and the month of October, then come in front of us during budget season for additional staff.
Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, President. And I'm just going to piggyback on that. For 4 years, I've stressed that most people work, go to school all year round. I guess in Salem, everyone takes a vacation in the summer only. I don't understand what the commission process has to do with this. I brought up when this came up, and I was grateful because, as Councilor Stott said, this enables people to design their vacations around this, to know when we're going to meet, to have regular business. Departments can do whatever they do all year round. But I brought up at the last meeting when this came before us that the Bertini project, Lore, was ready to open and couldn't open on time, even though they had people, especially some of the affordable units, were ready to go because National Grid and Comcast couldn't get their petition before us until September. It actually delayed people living in the apartments that they had secured for 3 weeks. I just don't understand why we're complicating this so much. You know, I thought when Councilor Stott brought this before us, it was like something that maybe should be just incorporated on a yearly basis.
Any further discussion? And I too am in agreement with Councilor Hapworth. It's not saying that we will not have a meeting in August. I think we've always had meetings in August because we've had to have meetings in August. It's just that if we have no council business in August, it gives the city staff the opportunity to be able to plan their vacations. It's not saying that we can't have one. Like I said, we've always had one. So I'm in agreement with Councilor Hapworth's amendment. Seeing that, and seeing no further discussion, on Councilor Hapworth's amendment, that we meet once in July and leave and not mandatorily in August. All those in favor?
Call for a roll call vote.
Sorry, Councilor Varela?
Roll call vote, please.
Okay, do I have a second for a roll call? Okay. Madam.
Council Watson-Felt?
No.
Council Varela?
No.
Council Stott?
No.
Council Marcillo?
No.
Council Merkel?
No.
Council Gerslow?
Yes.
Council Harvey?
Yes.
Council Hapworth?
Yes.
Council Davis?
No.
Council Cohen?
No.
And Council Prosnewski?
Yes. On the amendment of having no August meetings, we have 7 nays and 4 yeas. The matter does not carry.
President, I move for immediate reconsideration and hopes it shall not prevail.
No, I don't think you can do that.
He's got his right. He's in his right.
Councilor Varela moves for reconsideration so that it does not prevail. All those in favor? Those opposed? Matter does not prevail. Further unfinished business? Oh, I'm sorry, that was the move for the amendment. Now for the actual move for adoption for second passage. Any further discussion? Council Stott.
Thank you, President Presnowski. I would just like to make one more comment here. This is not to say vacations can't be made or you have to work hard. This is to help, again, the entirety of the city. We had the director, Stephen Cortez, in front of us, and he did not know at the beginning of the year because there was no meeting in front of him to submit a tax saving service to our residents. So it delayed that process. If at the beginning of the year, set schedule was set and Stephen could look at it and say, oh, I can set it on this day or this day and plan that out, we wouldn't then be accusing him of holding stuff and last minute and all of this. This is just 100% for transparency, for making everyone's lives easier, for scheduling those summer vacations that we all enjoy. I will also note that special meetings are special meetings. They are for that one topic, sometimes two topics. They are not available for all departments within the city to submit agendas. Again, transparency, just continuing the business of the city. I feel like I'm being the bad person here by insisting that we have a meeting in the summer. That's just crazy. So I just want to acknowledge that, yes, it's vacation time and it is reduced, but we are running a city and it needs to continue.
Any further discussion? On the motion of adoption of second passage, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further unfinished business.
We have a second passage of an ordinance to amend an ordinance.
Sorry, now I move for immediate reconsideration. I hope such shall not prevail. That's second passage. Sorry, guys.
Councilor Varela moves for passage of reconsideration. All those in favor? All those opposed? Opposed. Carry. That it does not carry. Okay, the last one, unfinished business.
We have a second passage of an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to Chapter 43, Section 12, trees, composition and meetings.
Councilor Marcillo.
Thank you, President. I move for adoption for second passage.
Councilor Marcillo moves for adoption. Second passage, under discussion.
No discussion.
Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. Just before we adjourn, I'd like to just take a moment of personal preference. In our former city council, Scott McLaughlin, passed away not too long ago. He served from 1996 to 1999, and I'd just like to have a moment of silence for somebody who gave their time for so many years to this city. Thank you, Councilor Marcillo. Councilor Stott.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to take a moment of personal privilege. And I don't want to steal the Dean's thunder, but I would just like to note that it is that time of the year, and it's October, and next week is the Haunted Happenings Parade, also falls on Yom Kippur. But I would like to make a message to the city of Salem that we all stay safe, we all follow the rules, hopefully everyone does, and we all embrace the craziness that we will be living in the next 30 days. But also just definitely wanted to note the parade is coming up, and with that, a lot of additional street closures to make sure that you're aware of those and everyone looks out for pedestrians, the kids running in the street, and have fun.
Councilor Marcillo.
I will also add that tomorrow night is the mayor's night out, so ditto. Watch out for the kids running around in their costumes. Motion to adjourn.
Councilor Marcillo motions to adjourn. All those in favor? All those opposed? We are adjourned.